Good morning and welcome each and every one of you. We're trying out a little bit of new technology again today, but we do welcome each and everybody that's with us, all town staff, town board here, and anybody that is listening in at this time. Thank you for joining us. So at this time, I will ask Councilman Don Helms if he will deliver our pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
And at this time, I'll turn it over to Mayor Pro-Tem Buddy Fowler for our invocation.
Thank you, Mayor. Let us bow our heads. Our Father, we're thankful for the many blessings you brought into our lives. Father, we're thankful for the sunshine and the warm weather it's warming back up to. Father, we ask you to continue to be with this country, continue to be with all those that are getting sick. Bring them through it, Father. We know through only you this is possible. Father, we also ask you to be with our troops. Bring them home safely. Father, be with this country. Help mend this country in this time of division. Father, we ask all these things in your most precious name. Amen.
Okay, well, at least we did get some good news this week, didn't we? That they are going to start inoculating people here in the United States, and hopefully they can get it out in a good fashion. I think they've got 2 of them that will be coming out shortly. One of them was, I think, mostly approved yesterday. I guess they finished it. And then Moderna, I think, is right behind it. So hopefully we can get to where we can all get back together again. Maybe not this Christmas, but maybe by July the 4th, at least this year, we'll be able to get back together again. So I know we're all looking forward to that. At this time, I'll ask for an approval of the agenda.
I make a motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, just put your hand up in front of your face. Okay, motion carried. And at this time, I will turn it over to, I think Matt's got the first thing on the agenda today. So we'll listen to what good work they've been doing.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Okay.
Good morning, Matt Britton, project manager with Monteith. Yeah, great to be here as usual. Quick update. I don't know if everyone's driven past the job site, but a good bit of progress on the exterior. You'll see the exterior siding going up, and I don't know if you started to see the exterior change colors, but the painters have started around the exterior, which is really nice. We did have a little bit of the second time actually with the metal roofing. We've got about half of the roof taken care of. 1 second, that's my daughter jumping in here right now. I love you too. Sorry, I apologize. So on that, it's a little bit of a COVID issue, but the metal roofing is supposed to be here today. Actually, I just sent Chris Thompson an email on that, checking in on that. So metal roofing is about 60% done. The balance of material should be here today. Exterior siding pushing forward. Exterior painting is also going to take place. Yeah, that's about it on the exterior. As far as the interior goes, I don't know if anyone's walked the site recently, but it's starting to take place. We've got the drywall finished up on the town hall side. With the first coat of paint, the prime coat has taken place on the town hall side. They're finishing up the drywall on the police side, and then the painter's going to take care of that right after. So the inside, if you were to walk in there, it looks like almost like a white shell. Start to show some finishes. Couple of big dates that we're tracking here that will basically kick off the interior finishes are going to be, our generator is going to be set. We're tracking a shipment of 1214 for the exterior generator. Hopefully we get it around the 20th. And what that'll kick off permanent power, and then our mechanical system here. So we'll have conditioned air, permanent power, generator. What that allows us to do is basically any sort of finished substrate, whether it's a wood or a tile. Once we have the conditioned air, that gives us the green light to take care of all that. So yeah, it's exciting. The next couple of weeks, we encourage you to come out and walk the site if you got any questions or thoughts or concerns. And then just one quick thing with the upcoming holiday. As of right now, we plan to be off the 24th and 25th. Kyle, I don't know if you need to communicate that to anybody on there. Yeah, it's exciting. So any questions there?
Appreciate what y'all been doing and appreciate the way you've been handling it professionally and in a real timely manner.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I didn't really touch on schedule right now. Big picture, we're tracking a couple weeks ahead of schedule. There's still a couple variables with the holiday that we want to make sure we get through, but knock on wood right now, everything's falling into place. So we're looking forward to bringing this thing in for you guys.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Matt, this is Dwight Torres. I just have a quick question. How are we doing budget-wise?
Very well. Honestly, very well. We've got a contingency fund that we're at the point right now, contractor contingency that'll be 100% give back to the owner. And we've been to the point right now where we're actually being able to take care of some owner changes within our contractor contingency. Thank you, sweetheart.
All right, thank you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, we're tracking well financially. Yes, sir.
Anybody else got any questions for Matt? Okay, we'll let you go then.
Thank you guys, and everyone have a great weekend. Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
Take care, Kyle. Appreciate it, buddy.
All right, Mr. Kyle, I'll turn it over to you now then.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next item we wanted to talk to you about was just an update on the town app that we've been working on here in administration. So as you know, a formal request for proposals was sent out and published. We're waiting for responses on that. Those are due next Friday. The overall goal of this app will be to have a tiered plan to develop consistent communication and have a resource for citizens and visitors to have interaction with the town when it comes to utilities, special events, notices, ordinances, etc. This will also provide a consistent branding to be used to represent the town. This will not replace the code red system that we do have in place, but can be another source for notifications or non-emergency information, and perhaps a desire to transition key cards to a digital platform through QR code or a barcode capability. As mentioned, a tiered system will be implemented to ensure that what gets pushed out on the app and what features may be available are accurate, have been tested, and can be deployed and managed within the current management framework that we have in town. Staff would work with the vendor on each feature to fully vet and approve those features as they become available. We would also envision having a visitor and resident profile, or having two separate versions of the app, in which we could be tailored for relevancy. For example, beach rules, rip current awareness, and special events may be of primary concern for our visitors, while utility notifications, council meeting notifications, trash schedule adjustments, and special events may be more relevant for our residents. Another key element to the app is a proposal to incorporate parking management by setting up zones, excuse me, for allowable parking and eliminating right-of-way parking unless necessary to maintain federal compliance for the Army Corps Beach Nourishment Project. The town will have the ability to implement a paid parking system in which the primary source of implementation will be through the app. Eliminating the need for capital investments for kiosks or other pay stations. Specific zone or zones can be set up to allow for a pay-by-mail option, similar to a toll road that you may be familiar with traveling across the state. If council would like to consider certain benefits to citizens, we'll absolutely be able to build this into the system. And what our proposal is to be able to utilize license plate information, which can be validated when the individual parks, and further validated when the license plate is scanned by an attendant. It is envisioned that a database will be developed through the utility billing information. Once proposals are reviewed by staff, we would anticipate bringing a recommendation for award to council during your work session in January. So I know we've talked about this multiple times, sort of on a a little bit here and a little bit there, but we're getting to the point that council and staff really need to be considering what this is going to look like, what parameters we're going to implement, and policies and ordinances need to be drafted to bring to council for adoption, which will memorialize the process of potential paid parking. So again, there's we would anticipate in reviewing from proposals is somebody that can have full capabilities to be have a dynamic system that we can manipulate according to what the town's desires are. And if that constitutes timeframes in which we enforce a paid parking solution, costs for paid parking, non-cost for paid parking, who might be considered for waiving of parking fees for residents, how many validations would we allow? Those are all decisions that we will need to make. And if council has any questions about it, if we want to talk about this further or provide any general guidance, I'm happy to listen to this, because once we bring this back to you in January, it'll be with the understanding that we're moving forward with developing this portion of the application, which is going to be a pretty significant portion of it. So we can communicate that with the vendor. So I'll open it up for questions. But really, ultimately, once we get that vendor on board is when we're going to be moving forward. We do feel confident that if council wants to move forward in this direction, we would be able to get something in place by March, which would be ahead of schedule. And I would certainly recommend that we have a system in place in which for that first 30 days, we go through a trial process, and people can still validate their parking when they get here. But it most likely would be the fees would be waived if there are fees adopted for this. So I know that's a lot of things to consider. Happy to help council work through this and make an ultimate decision, because it's about at that time.
Okay, anybody got any questions for Kyle on that?
I got one question. Kyle, is this, are we gonna put up meters and everything like Riceville Beach has got, or are we just going to do the crossovers where there's parking in the park? Are we gonna do the park or what?
At this point, we didn't envision doing Soundside Park or Roland Avenue. I mean, that's state right away there anyway. But what we would be doing is directing this parking management strategy to our already delineated parking lots and crossover parking lots, as well as the minimum right-of-way parking that we must maintain for our federal compliance for the Army Corps project. And the ability for us to deploy this without the capital investments, such as the parking meters, the kiosks, or pay stations, I think is what we would want to work directly with a vendor to implement. As you know, we have a very corrosive environment over at the beach, and I'm afraid if we start making capital investments with this, that we're going to be in the business of replacing, repairing, which is going to escalate our cost. The solution that we've had, that we've come up with preliminarily, is to have certain lots that would be designated as the pay by mail. So what that means is that if somebody wants to come to the beach and if they don't have a smartphone, or God forbid, they lost their smartphone, forgot it at home, or maybe their battery died, they could park in a certain parking lot, and we would go scan the license plate and send a direct invoice to that individual, exactly like, or similar to, I should say, like a toll road when you're driving to Charlotte or you're driving around Durham. That option is available. So you just continue on your way, and you will receive that in the mail.
Okay,
Go ahead.
because I knew that if we put up anything over to beach, the salt was gonna just eat it away. And
Sure.
I think we would be throwing money out the window, putting meters and things over to beach because of the corrosive environment.
Yeah, they would, I don't know what the lifespan on that, but initial investigation and research would show that based on what we would need, if we put a kiosk at each parking lot or parking area, we're upwards of about 30 kiosks, and that's at minimum $250,000 to purchase those, and they would be ours. Which is not really an asset that I would want to have in our portfolio there. It would just be troublesome if it goes out in the middle of a weekend. Then what do? We don't have necessarily a backup system for it. So if we can move in this direction, that would be what I would prefer and recommend. But again, we want to listen to council's concerns and desires and try to implement a product that matches that.
Kyle,
Go ahead, buddy.
Kyle, my concern is I thought that we want to get some of the companies to come in and make a presentation to the council on basically what the projected income would be off of that, and what are the potential income that could be, as well as the cost, and look at what is best. But I do know we probably need to be heading that direction. But right now, I don't have enough information to figure out what impact it's going to have as far as our budget or anything goes.
Sure. We had some preliminary numbers, and I'm happy to share those with you based off of a return on investment that utilized the approximate number of parking spaces that we have in town current. And then it netted out the capital investment over 5 years with the kiosk system. And that's the whole thing, is that there's vendors out there, plenty of vendors out there that have a kiosk and have a pay station. But we really felt that we could be unique in this and really tailor it to what the town desires. I do have those numbers, and I'll be happy to share those with council. But what we can do is look at percentage of occupancy for all of those spaces, the amount of time throughout the year that we would be filling up the parking spaces, and we can come up with estimates and numbers. Right now, that number is going to be somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million in revenue annually, and any contract that we look at would be a percentage based off of what that revenue would look like.
So this is Dwight. I've got a question. Last we spoke about this, at least the mayor and I think you were there, but it was being explored. I never got the results of the exploration. And I still, the question that I have is what is the problem statement? What are we trying to solve?
Yeah, absolutely. The first, and I'm going to share a couple of statistics and figures with you. I think our primary problem statement is safety around our beach area. We have a tremendous amount of right-of-way parking going on. Obviously, we have a lot of pedestrians, and we see more and more conflict with this going on. Real quick, let me just show you. Here's a basic some population numbers to show the growth in our area. On average, from 2000, even looking at Onslow County, Pender County as a whole, Holly Ridge, North Topsail Beach, Sneads Ferry, Surf City, we're on average at a 30% population increase, which means more day trippers coming to the beach during those summer months, and really creating those conflicts. Another item I wanted to show you is what our police department has been tasked with in code enforcement. And as you can see, this year, our numbers are up to 525 parking citations. That started off at 25 in 2016, from which when we started, or what I could get data on anyway, in regards to those citations. I asked for the last 5 years. So incrementally and certainly exponentially this past year, we have gone up in those citations. I think a little bit of that does have to do with targeted enforcement, but that targeted enforcement was necessary due to the conflicts that we had been seeing over at the beach in regards to the volume of people coming and visiting Surf City.
Okay, so the parking spaces that can be created, whether they be parking lots or the properties that the Army Corps or that is coming as part of the Army Corps project with the additional spaces. I mean, that, and I understand that will allow us to not allow for the parking on the easements, and that would address, I think, your safety concern. So sure, we can create these additional parking spaces and parking lots, but why charge?
Sure. Well, that's certainly a policy decision for council. Additional revenue is going to go directly into our beach nourishment efforts. As you know, we levy, about 1.5 on that 10 cents in beach nourishment, and additional revenue will be sought after for our Army Corps project. We don't have the final numbers for it. All we have is the preliminary estimates. Those are going to fluctuate until we have an actual contract set. But this is certainly going to allow us to be comfortable and confident moving forward, even with renourishment costs tied to that project.
Yeah, and we have a good balance there now, and I think they owe us some, right? We're waiting on a return from FEMA.
Yes, sir.
I didn't think that we've had to charge for parking in the past to do nourishment, and the cost of renourishment should be less for us going forward after the Army Corps project with the reimbursement of federal funds. So I'm not convinced that we have a revenue problem.
Sure.
So I just, and I look forward to also allowing the residents the opportunity to speak to this topic as well.
Absolutely, and that's what we will gear up for, to be able to provide that information and get that feedback. This is a big step for the town, and certainly want to make sure things are vetted. And again, this is why I bring this up is we've talked about this. We've put a request for proposals out there to see what our capabilities are, and now we're going to be in the position to present that information based on what we can deploy. Until we knew what we could deploy, is very difficult for us to say we can do X, Y, and Z outside of it just being a strictly hypothetical statement.
And I appreciate looking into it, but the last thing I'll just say to the topic is, you brought up the point of the population growth, and that's happening. That's without question. And I think some of the feedback that I've received on the subject already has been, well, if they're charging in Wrightsville Beach and they're going to start charging in North Topsail, that's going to draw even more people to the area. I don't see why more people to the area is a problem for business. In particular, you should welcome that. More people is good. And I think if we're thinking that we're going to solve the problem of stopping day trippers from overwhelming us by charging parking, the only way I think that's going to work is if we charge more than those other areas. And Wrightsville Beach just went from, I think, $2.50 an hour to $5 an hour, and they doubled the price per day. So if we're going to go down that road, then we're going to need to charge more than they do, and that's the only way you're going to keep people away.
Sure. And And just for clarification, this has absolutely nothing to do with deterring anybody from coming to the beach. And I think, certainly in my experience this past summer is that we have a conflict issue, and we've got an unmanaged parking situation at the beach. And
I agree.
if at minimum this zone setup certainly will assist that. But our right of ways, they start getting eaten up by people parking on them. That's going to start deteriorating some roads, and there's just some other compounding factors that go into all of it. And what we will be doing with those right of way parking that's designated for minimum requirements for the Army Corps is putting in a solution, putting sub base 6 inch of stone, putting up signage showing that this is where you can park. Everywhere else, it will be off limits.
Okay, thank you, Kyle.
Thank you. And if we want to have a special workshop on this, just please communicate to me. Let me know how you want to address it. Again, I do understand the complexity of this. This is a pretty big item for the town. And we want to make sure that we're doing it right, certainly.
Okay, anybody else got questions for Kyle?
Yeah,
Teresa.
go ahead,
Okay.
Teresa.
I wanted just to say that by no way I think that we're trying to keep people away from our beach. We still want them to come here, but our main goal is to provide them with the health, safety, and welfare of all the residents and the visitors that come to visit. We've had a large increase, especially this past season, with a lot of people being out of school, a lot of people being able to work from home that have been here a lot earlier than in the year than when they were before, which helped our businesses, our local businesses, and keep them going throughout the year. But it's also caused a lot of problems with parking in the right of way, blocking intersections, the view of intersections, which is why we saw the escalation of traffic violation tickets this past season. A lot of the residents that I have spoken to, they're excited that Surf City is looking out for them, and that we value them as a resident, and we're willing to protect not only their yard, because a lot of them, everybody is just pulling in their yard and parking, and they live here, they pay taxes, they come here, and they don't have a place to park. They may live over on, take Dogwood Lakes, for example. They may live in Dogwood Lakes. They come over to the beach. They have no place to park. However, if they are already registered in the app, they know that they have a place to park, a free place to park. It's going to, direct day trippers maybe to a different location sometimes, unless they have a friend or a neighbor that can, get them into a different parking situation. But I think that the app is not only a good idea for parking, but for the consistency with the branding, the utilities, and you had mentioned, visitor and the resident profile, but we have also spoke about contractors and registering businesses in this app as well, which I think overall, and when it comes to re-entry, this app will be a huge resource for our re-entry if needed after a storm. So I'm looking forward to you bringing some type of plan back to us, Kyle, of how much the app is costing us, how much income are we expecting to receive from this app. Should we include this? How much of this should we include in our budget? And if so, is it all going to be designated to the beach nourishment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Well, I'd like to say that appreciate the work that Kyle and them been doing on this. And there is a lot of information that still needs to be delivered, I think, to the board. You know, we've all got questions about one thing or another, and definitely we are not trying to deter business from the town of Surf City. But we know somewhere down the road, we're gonna need some more parking also. So hopefully this will start providing some funds that we would be able to obtain more parking. I know some towns lease lots from different people for parking, and that would be operated under the same people. So, I mean, it's, you know, it looks like to me it's going to be the only winning solution to the crowding of the people. We definitely want the people here, but if they can get here and be happy, then I feel like they'll spend more money. Okay, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And one more thing I did want to mention, we have reinvigorated our discussions with DOT about some of the residual land areas surrounding the bridge, so that we can turn those into parking areas as well. So we look forward to that process and getting those into our parking repository, I guess I could say. So did want to let you know about that. So that's all I got. We'll review the proposals as they come in. We've got a short week, but I'd like to start getting on that the first 2 days before we leave for Christmas. And then again, having that back to council with a recommendation, and then going from there. Essentially, if we can get a vendor on board is then when we can start making these decisions, customizing and tailoring it to the town's needs.
One question, do we need to have a meeting the last of the year here somewhere or another after Christmas that you could deliver more information, or what?
No, I can, again, we want to have somebody on board. That way we can start working with somebody directly to tailor this. We have our first meeting in January. We can make a recommendation for that. And then again, if we want to meet again to have just a special work session on this, I would foresee that being an open process to where you can learn a lot more as far as capabilities, assurances for citizens, and overall how the management and operations of all this looks like.
Okay.
So I'll put something together and send it out as far as a schedule and information that we can provide. And I'll seek input from council as far as if there's any additional information that you might want to see.
Okay.
Kyle,
I encourage anybody. Go ahead, Don.
Yes.
I mean, buddy.
Kyle, as I understand it, what we're talking about is just the app itself. We're not discussing what all is going to be put in it and stuff right now. We just want to know if we want to have an app and find somebody that can deliver a town app, and then we can tailor it to whatever we want to put under it, or put in it, or put under it. So we're not looking at basically parking and all that right now. That'll come later when we have some more information and have some more talk and discussion on it. But all we're talking about right now is finding an app that can do many things for us in town to make it useful and more economic friendly for the town. Is that right?
Yes, sir. And again, I don't think that we want to make decisions on, cost or if we're going to charge or not charge until you can really fully see how that is going to work. Again, we've had some preliminary discussions about it, but until we have the actual vendor in front of us who's on board, there won't be an initial financial commitment on behalf of the town to develop the app until we start putting forth task orders for certain modules that we want to see. So for example, we could say, okay, well, we're going to deploy the app, but But the first thing we're going to work on is the visitor side of it, and we'll be able to do push notifications to talk about the ordinances, to talk about rip currents, and to talk about trash carts or something on Fridays. So that's how I would envision it. And again, if you have input, please let me know, and I'll incorporate that into our communication.
Well, the way the technology is today and the way it's improving, I think we do need some kind of town app. And if that's what we're discussing, I think from my standpoint, I'd love to see us go ahead and move in that direction to securing a town app.
I agree.
Yeah, so those will, if we went strictly just with the town app, then we have direct costs that we'll have to budget for to implement, which is fine, which is what we're prepared to do. The other side of it certainly will help offset that. But again, we'll bring it back for a full comprehensive review on this. Just wanted to keep everybody updated as to where we're at, what's going on, and really get you guys thinking about this, which I'm glad to see the questions. I'm glad to have the questions. And again, if there's something that you feel you need that I'm not providing, please let me know, and I'm happy to do that. Over.
Thank you, Kyle.
Okay, still you, I guess. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, Kyle, you got the next part 2, economic resilience plan?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. We've got
And Jesse with you?
our next item. Yes,
Yes,
we kind of went through some progression. As you know, we had as a town had applied for some economic development funding to develop a economic resiliency plan, which was targeted at recovery of getting our economy back up and running following natural disasters, pandemics, et cetera. What can we do as a town? How can we work with our business partners to deploy strategies, provide information, and also recruit and retain businesses that are resilient when it comes to recovering from those types of events. So unfortunately, we were unable to get the grant funding from EDA. However, we were put in contact with some very fine folks at UNC Chapel Hill, and specifically the Keenan Flagler Institute, their business school. So I've been working with Jess Wilkinson and Carolyn. I thought I saw her on here, Freiberger, with UNC Chapel Hill. They have an excellent team that they would like to work with us to deploy some of these efforts. So it'll come at very minimal cost to the town. I think our overall commitment will be $2,000 for a study. And then what I've asked is some long-term policies and priorities that the town can then turn around and implement into our comprehensive plan. So I'll turn it over to Jess. She can introduce Austin, I believe, who's going to be our grad assistant working on the project. And then they can kind of go over the scope and what they do and what organization they represent and maybe some other projects they've worked on. But nonetheless, they're here to answer any questions and give you just an overview, because we would be looking at getting started after Christmas into the new year and having something completed, I think, from our scope and timeline by about May. So Jess, I'll turn it over to you. I'm going to mute myself.
All right, thank you, Kyle. It's really great to meet everyone, Mayor Medlin and council members. We've had a few conversations with Kyle so far, like he mentioned. I'll just introduce myself. I'm Jessica Wilkinson, the Economic Development Manager at NC Growth. We also did have our Assistant Director for Economic Development, Carolyn Freiberger, on the line for just a little bit, but she had to hop off for another meeting, but I'm sure y'all will meet her at some point. So just to give a little bit of background about us, we are at the Keenan Institute of Private Enterprise, which is affiliated with the UNC Keenan Flagler Business School. NC Growth is an institute within those entities. So like a lot of university, entities where it's like layers on layers. So we're an institute there. We are a team of 9 people. We've been around since 2012. We work with both small businesses and communities for economic development. And since 2012, we've worked with over 100 small businesses and over 70 communities all over North Carolina. And on some of our business clients, we're also working in South Carolina now. A little bit more about us. The way that we do this work is that we're grant funded. So we work really closely with the EDA who introduced us to you all. And that grant funding allows us to subsidize our work for our clients. And so that's why a lot of our projects come at a very minimal cost to our clients. The other way that we do this work is that we hire amazing people who are in graduate school to do the work, and they typically have work experience. We'll hire folks from our business school to do, work with our small business clients, where we'll hire folks from our policy schools or school of government or planning school to lead the research for our economic development projects. So that's in a nutshell how we work. I'll let Austin introduce himself in just a minute after I talk about broadly what the scope of this project is, and he'll go into some of the more nitty-gritty pieces. So I'll share my screen if that works, or actually I don't think I'm able to. Would you think it'd be better, Kyle, if I shared my screen and kind of went through the document, or do you think it'd be better if I just kind of talk through it? Oh, I think you're muted. I think you're muted, Kyle. I don't know if you are. Okay.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
The council does have a memo that outlined that scope,
Okay.
and that is in their packet.
Okay.
I can try to bring that up if that'll help, Jess, just to keep you on track or whatnot. Let me know.
Okay. Well, if you all have it, then that's totally fine. I'll just kind of go through it on my screen, just give you a broad overview. We're still in the process. We've gone through the scope a couple of times, and I think it's just about ready to be signed. As Kyle mentioned, the timeline is going to be from January to May. A lot of our projects follow the semester timeline since that's kind of how we operate. And yeah, so to go into some detail, as Kyle was talking about, this project is going to be focused on doing research to help you all add to your comprehensive plan. Oh, great. Awesome. So as you see here, there's some project background, all of which y'all will be very familiar with. It's mostly for us to show you that we understand the context of the work that we're coming into, and understanding that y'all have experienced really stark effects stemming from hurricanes economically, from natural disasters, and the pandemic because of an economy that is heavily focused on tourism. So this project is going to work on some research that will help you with your resiliency, your economic resiliency, to have an economy that's less dependent on tourism and less susceptible to these economic shocks. So with that, if you see number 1, 2, 3, the project will broadly include an assessment of the potential economic assets in Surf City and the surrounding region, particularly those in more resilient industries, not necessarily tourism focused. Number 2, we'll be doing some research to identify and define diversification strategies for the town in order to recruit, support, and promote business growth that is resilient to changes in tourism because of these economic shocks and other things we've been talking about. And then last, the project broadly will include some recommendations to inform and include in the town's long-term resiliency plans. So that's very broad. I'll pass it on now to Austin, who's going to introduce himself and can talk a little bit more about the more detailed piece, the deliverables, and what the analysis will actually include. So thanks, Austin.
Yeah, good morning, Mayor and Council. I'm Austin Amendolia. I'm a economic development analyst with NC Growth, and I am a second-year Masters of City and Regional Planning student at UNC Chapel Hill. I'm specializing in economic development, so this kind of work is right up my alley. So for the deliverables, Specifically, we're going to be looking at identifying, doing an assessment of potential economic assets, which will include local institutions that can help, that Surf City can help leverage to kind of support a resiliency plan and support a strong business infrastructure. So include an asset map and a shift share analysis. A shift share analysis essentially will look at the growth in industries in the region and compare that to the growth of industries nationwide. And that will help us identify what industries the region is really strong in compared to the rest of the country, and which industries are growing or shrinking overall in the country compared to the region. And this will really help us identify what industries are the best to target for the region and for creating a diversification strategy. So that shift share analysis really kind of provides like a data baseline for us to think through the rest of the planning. And then we'll look at some case studies of similarly situated communities and how they have handled resiliency strategies and also diversified their economies to kind of help inform just what other communities have done. We'll be interviewing lots of individuals within the city. So probably get to speak with some of y'all, but also some local business owners, people from other nearby communities and other economic development experts. And then of course, we'll be providing recommendations on what models we think should be pursued based on Surf City's context and the research that we do. And we'll try and provide as many ideas and recommendations as makes sense, and really give y'all a targeted list of next steps and make it as clear as possible so y'all know what to do going forward. I'm really looking forward to this project. It's really, when I read the scope, I actually read the scope before I was told I was going to be on this project, and I thought to myself, man, I really hope I get on that project because you all seem to have a really unique town, and this is an exciting project for y'all, and I'm happy to be on it. Thank you.
Thanks, Austin. So that's the bulk of the information. The rest of the scope, as y'all will have seen, has the timeline, which we broadly went over, so I won't go over that in much detail, but you can expect a final report in May. And then just the last piece of that scope of work document outlines our responsibilities. So I'll be the project manager on this project. Austin will be the analyst who'll be leading the research on the project. Carolyn, our assistant director for economic development, will be an advisor, and we'll also enroll an expert reviewer who will be someone in the field. Sometimes it's someone at UNC, sometimes it's, you know, someone who just has experience. They may not be an academic, but we'll let you all know who that is, and they're responsible for reading the scope, approving it, and then reviewing any final deliverables. So all our work gets looked at by many people before you all see it. And the last piece is just the client responsibility. So Kyle will be our main point of contact from what I understand on this project. And so we'll be meeting every week with Kyle. I'll be meeting every week separately with Austin to go over the research that we're finding and to get, you know, updates on a timely basis. And we'll be sharing those back out to you all. And we're happy to come back to this meeting again, if that makes sense, to provide updates. And in the beginning of January, we'll be starting those meetings once a week. And at that time, we'll be, you know, starting the research and getting a lot of baseline information from you all to really get started and running. And we're all really excited, and it's great to be here and nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jess. Nice to meet you, Austin.
And happy to answer any questions if you all have them.
We've got a few business owners on council, so Jess, I'm sure we will be talking in more depth with each one of them too. So
awesome, that would be wonderful. It's great to meet you all.
All right. Good, Mr. Mayor. You're on mute.
Am I off mute now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
All right.
you know,
Thank you, Jess. Thank you, Austin.
we were just talking about, we were talking about growth in the area. And so we're not having to just look at ourselves anymore. We're having to look at the whole area and what's going to be happening there. And so that we can make decisions that's best for our business and residents here in Surf City. And so that's why we've got to explore all different avenues so that we can keep up with things so that they don't come rolling over top of us. And this resilience plan and the app plan and all that stuff is what you all are doing to try to get us prepared for this that's coming. And so I do appreciate that. Okay, what we got next here? Let's see. I turned the paper, trying to find that while ago. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I guess we're gonna have to turn it over to Chad now. Is he online?
He is, and I will bring up his report. He's going to give us an update on the Earl G. and Inez Batts Recreation Complex. As we know, it's a very, very sought after project for us in town. And I'll again share my screen to the information that was provided in your packet.
All right. Good morning, council, and good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
And staff. I'll wait for this to come up so that we can kind of follow along.
Sorry, Chad, 1 second.
That's all right. There we go. All right. So I want to take the time to kind of update, because I know you guys are getting a lot of questions. I get a lot of questions every day. When are we going to have a skate park? When is it going to open? Can we use it? So I wanted to give you an update. I did this update with the Recreation Advisory Committee as well last month, last month. So this kind of gives you a little bit of the facts of where we sit at right now. We're approximately about 54 acres. We paid $550,000 for this piece of property. It's currently being surveyed. I'll throw that in, or not currently. It's been submitted to have it surveyed so that we get the official boundaries, and that'll give us a little more understanding of the exact acreage of this. Development of phase 1, which is what I've technically been working on through these grants, is approximately a $1.4 million project if we complete all of it. I did look at some of those and did some priority items, which include the skate park, the inclusive playground, restroom facility, and then you'll have some other fees like clearing the area and so on. We do have, as you see below, about half of a stormwater pond, which has a lot of aquatic life. There's some existing trails that actually go around this pond right now, and then there's trails that go through the land that we're looking at connecting to some of our existing trails around the pond that we have adjacent to the community center. The southern parcels have a lot of really quality trees. It's a real thick vegetation. It's wetland grade soil. Walking through it, it wasn't a lot of standing water. It was just more, I guess, low elevation. We want to try to maintain as much of that natural area as we can, which is why we are looking at relocating the disc golf course over in this area. Would be a perfect amenity to be put on that particular portion of this property. Some of the approved plans that we have, which were identified within the comprehensive plan, is to build a skate park, inclusive playgrounds, trail, sand volleyball, shelter, restroom facility, outdoor pickleball, and relocate the disc golf course. The recommended plans that are outside of what we already have approved, and we've talked with Recreation Advisory Committee, it did recommend in the comp plan to build additional athletic fields, outdoor pool, and tie in a greenway. So, you know, looking at this land, the potential for it to be able to actually fulfill all of those recommendations, which were identified in that comp plan, are very high. So we're trying to get this survey completed so we can get that overall site plan put together, so you'll see a layout. So once that site plan's put together, it'll kind of outline some of those amenities, and you'll be able to see how they fit on this piece of land. And it gives you a little bit better understanding of where we're at. Kyle, if you want to scroll down. So that kind of puts us at our current grant situation. So as we know, unfortunately, we did not get the 2020 part of grant. The 2020 LWCF, which is Land Water Conservation Fund grant, that is still pending. We're looking probably the springtime before they officially announce that. We are in pretty good position for that particular grant. We have $75,000 awarded right now from Burke Move for the inclusive playground. Tony Hawk Foundation, they're really difficult as far as trying to pin anything down because it fluctuates so much. At one point they were doing $40,000, then they were doing $20,000. Last I spoke with them, they're doing $15,000. You know, I'm all for trying to go after any grant opportunities, so I don't leave that off the table. And you know, somebody's going to give us $10, that's $10 more that we don't have to spend. So I don't shake my head at any number. But if we're awarded the 2020 LWCF, the land will qualify for LWCF grant funding for that point forward, meaning LWCF is its main focus is land acquisition. So if you acquire land through funding from LWCF, we will be able to apply for grant funding for the lifetime of that land, whether it's development. Obviously, you know, we won't do any acquisition, but that opens up a lot of doors for future development. So the catch on LWCF is it does have to be all outdoor recreation. So we would not be able to put up an indoor facility, example, recreation center or indoor pool. They would not cover something like that on this land. There are some stipulations when it comes to LWCF. It does have to remain parkland and can only be used for parkland for the lifetime of the land. So I don't anticipate that we're looking to do anything more with that. I gave you kind of a project budget that I put together. I think you guys have seen this before. This kind of gives you a picture of estimates. And again, these are all estimates based on talking with the various contractors and where we want to be as far as that number, and also to fit the grant proposals in which we put together. You can look here. Obviously, we've got the land. I left that off because I didn't want the numbers to get messy. So you can kind of see what's still kind of laying there from the estimated town cost. If you look at the skate park estimated $370,000. That would be part of at 165, LWCF at 165. Tony Hawk, I had it fit 25. I need to update that. But estimated town cost would be $15,000 to contribute to that particular project, if those numbers stood correctly. And if we can get it down, you know, we'll try. You'll see how all this is broken, where I've got a skate park, a playground, a volleyball court, a restroom. And some people may say, you you know, why don't you just go after the skate park and get the skate park done? So I'll kind of answer that. When you do these grants, you get additional points awarded based on the number of new amenities that you are contributing to your community. So if I just go with a skate park and ask for funding with that, we actually leave about 15 points on the table for not trying to more develop the area, which is why the inclusive playground, the sand volleyball, those items are added to that ticket to try to help increase our chances for the grant. And if you look down, I've got the possible grant funding down here at it's about 1.1 million. And Kyle, if you want to scroll down a little bit, this is kind of some of the views. This is the picture on the left is actually standing on the side where Royal Palms is, looking back towards the corner of the property towards the Turtle Hospital. You can see there's a lot of open space right through there. The water meter that's located there, I just took, based on what I had, it was kind of the property line that I could draw up. Obviously, we'll have more defined property lines soon, but really nice property. The property on the picture on the right is actually exactly straight across the pond where the picture on the left is. So you can kind of see it's been there's actually a gentleman that lives in there, and he's been kind of maintaining it. And he made kind of the joke. He came out while I was out and asked if he could continue to mow those areas. And I said, hey, you know, whatever, if that's what he said he enjoyed doing it. So he's very excited as well, having conversation. He thought that, you know, it was a great idea. He was really glad that there wasn't going to be more development on there. So that's good news. We got some positive feedback. Actually, it was two gentlemen that came over, and they were very nice and very accepting and very excited about the opportunity. You can scroll down a little bit more, Kyle. All right, so it leads us here. So this is option one, which is what I recommend, the path that we continue down. We wait for the results, obviously, of the LWCF. I put in a waiver before I started the process of the PARTF grant. That waiver allowed us 2 opportunities to apply for the PARTF grant. So we lost the first opportunity, but unlike a lot of others, we have a second opportunity for our project. So we are working right now to kind of beef up our grant application. I know now that we own the land, we did not own actually be due about the time that we hear from the LWCF. So LWCF, $500,000. That shows you a breakdown of what that $500,000 goes to. And I tried to pair it up so you could see where it matches each one. The PARTF grant, $500,000. The difference you're going to see is in the yellow at $7,500. That's because I needed to have that additional amenity in there to gain an additional 10 points. So that's why that one shows there. The town, we would have to match that, which we budgeted this year, $75,000 to match the inclusive playground. So we would make that adjustment this coming up year. The Burke Move grant, $75,000, as I talked about. NC Trails grant is a $100,000 grant. It requires 25% matching. That can be in the, it can actually be the money that we've paid towards the land. It can be in this other grant. It can be in labor cost. So we're covered from that on our 25%. But the way these grants work is they are reimbursable. The town would have to front the cost of the reimbursement, which obviously if we're awarded $500,000 from one and $500,000 from the other, we've already fronted the cost of the land. So that leaves $460,000 that we would need to budget for reimbursement on the development, which covers the your cost for the skate park and the cost for the inclusive playground. That would not include our matching portion, which is not the reimbursable part, which is still the 75,000 that we budgeted this year. The town would get 270,000 from both grants immediately from the land acquisition. That's my number one goal, is we want to get that money back that we paid for the land. So you know, that's where we're going towards. That's what we're working towards. And if you want to go down, Kyle, a little bit, or go to the next page. The option 2, if you ask what happens if we don't get part of grant, well, technically you either have to decide whether we want to leave $500,000 on the table, which with LWCF, if we're awarded LWCF funding, we don't get part of funding, we have $500,000 to go towards that. That shows you what we would have to do in order to obtain and utilize that $500,000. The town would now have to become the matching for the LWCF. This kind of shows you the town's in there twice, because that's still the cost for the entire project. That's not a matching of the grant. You still have these other grants, but essentially the 550,000 that's already spent would be what we would end up after reimbursement, after we did the project. And if we matched LWCF, we would be in the red, that 550,000. So that would be where that's our worst case scenario moving forward. And I don't think I got, yeah. So the current fiscal year, we have 75,000. So what we've done and what we're trying to move on is to go ahead and get the survey completed on the land. The recombination of parcels, because there's 2 separate parcels on the north side of Jade Spats and 2 parcels on the south side. We would need to combine those so that we don't have to worry about setback requirements within the middle of the property. We would use the funds to assist with any kind of trail development and complete any projects and the comp plan. We could look at using that money, or we could pass that money over. I like to move forward. So if doing a survey and getting the wetland delineation certified and getting some of these other items that are still identified as reimbursable in the grant, knocking those out. And if we have leftover money and we decide we want to go down the path of knocking out another one of those items within the comp plan, then we can do that. So I think that is the end of it there. So I guess at this point, any questions on where we stand?
Yeah, I got a question for you.
All right.
So if you were a betting man, and I won't hold this against you, you know, what is our percentage chance of getting both of those grants? You know, because I hate basing budgetary decisions on if come. I mean, the park's needed, we need to do that. I'm not disputing any of that. I'm just want to know what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I can give you the facts. I'm not going to guess a statistic on that when I can provide you. So the LWCF, they funded North Carolina $19 million. That's through the federal government. That the amount of requests for projects, like the total amount, is somewhere around 7 or 8 million. So they have 19 million in funding for LWCF, and they have 7 to 8 million in requests. So I'll let you kind of, does that guarantee anything?
Yeah,
I've always told nothing's guaranteed until there's a signature on there and everything's good. The part of grant, when you turn in, so just like this last time, we ranked, there were 66 other municipalities that turned in a part of grant application. We ranked about 18th or 19th out of 66. They funded 16 projects out of 66. So we were right on the edge. So typically you're going to have anywhere between, that's the most I've ever seen turned in.
Right.
But you generally have anywhere between 45 and 60 applications that are turned in. Ours is obviously really strong. The one thing that held us back was we didn't own the land, so I couldn't justify spending $15,000 to have a site plan done up on land that would potentially not be ours.
Okay.
So I didn't take that gamble. I didn't want us to take that gamble. I felt confident in the land that we were going to get, but we did lose those points. And I was hoping that I didn't know we were going to have 66 applications. I felt, as well as our representative from RRS, they felt that we were in the top and that we were going to be in pretty good shape.
Okay.
Some other municipalities did turn in some good additional projects that were funded ahead of us. So.
Okay, excellent. You're doing great work. I'm not questioning you, obviously, what you're doing. I'm just wanting to see what your thoughts were.
Yep, this is why I'm throwing this out, because I know you guys are getting, and ladies are getting this question, and a lot of people are asking where we're at. So I want to make sure that everybody is aware of where we're at.
So I have one more question for you too, Chad. Have you, maybe you would like I'd like you to maybe chat with Kyle a little bit, just spitball this. Have you reached out to any, like, for example, a surveying company? Have you said, look, this is going to be a $10,000 project. We'll put your name on something at the park. Are you willing to donate your survey? Have you approached any companies, like somebody's going to maybe do the clearing of the land? Because some people would want those opportunities. Have you approached anybody on those lines?
Yes. So we've reached out to one of them per council request, and I don't think we received anything back from that individual. And then we do have, that's one reason why we're working with the Recreation Advisory Committee to set up a foundation now. Okay. That foundation will allow us to have things donated. And then I've got another, I had an individual reach out that was actually asking about stuff just as that. If we were able to, if we came and cleared the land, would you put up a sign that said, thanks? And yes, the answer to that question, anytime that we're offered services as a donated service for items like that, I'm not going to shake my head no at that. Okay. We can figure out a way to put and recognize those individuals appropriately, and we'll definitely do something to help out. So if you find anybody that's interested, then definitely send them my way. I have talked to some that are expressing that interest.
Okay, great. Thank you much. That's all I had.
Yeah.
Okay, seems like
I just got one more thing for Chad. Maybe you covered it, but when will we know on the grants and how many applied this time around compared to last? Do you have that?
The LWCF will be in the springtime, so 2021. They keep telling me it could be anywhere between January and May. So I just say spring. If they come sooner, then that's great. And again, that particular one, North Carolina has 19 million in funding for that grant that is potential, and I think the amount of applications that were turned in equate to about 7 or 8 million. So there's going to be quite a bit left over from that grant, which is good because that means it'll be there for the next year. But and then I don't know the answer to the part of question on how many, because you never know. They keep it just hush hush. Okay. I didn't know 66 applied until I sat there on the video, and one of the first sentences they said, well, we had 66 applications this year. and my heart kind of dropped a little bit because I've never seen that many on there.
Okay.
But we'll find out from that application or grant. The 2021 version is due May 1st. So what I'm hoping is we'll hear from LWCF. we'll have turned in our PARTF application about the same time. We'll hear back from the PARTF in September, so we're really delayed May, June, July, August, September, about 4 or 5 months. That's what it did not getting it this go round in 2020. If we would have gotten the PARTF award in 2020, then if LWCF announced in the spring that we were awarded, then we would have had our funding in spring. But now we're looking probably the fall before we get it, if awarded both.
Yeah, thanks for that. And how about the Tony Hawk, just out of curiosity?
Tony Hawk, you kind of have to go after that one once your project, the rest of the funding's been secured.
Okay.
So it's as I've talked with that representative, he said, once you get everything set and you're ready to go, then we'll talk and find out what funding we have available. It sounds like their nonprofit kind of fluctuates on projects. The one concern I have about that grant is that it's got some requirements that our area might not necessarily fit in, which is the low household income requirement. They really target low income areas, and on paper, Surf City is not a low income area.
Yeah, I got you. All right, well, thanks for everything you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a good update, Chad. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Chad. Appreciate it. A lot of good work there. Okay, turn it over to you again,
Can
Mr.
I
Child.
add one thing?
Oh, sorry, Teresa.
I just want to say thank you, Chad, for just not all the work you done, but also the work that your staff did. I remember every time I talked to you, like during March, April, May, all through COVID, those first 3 months, it seemed like, y'all all were working on applying for this grant. And I think we were very close to getting it, even though we didn't own the property. So at this time, knowing that we're going to go into them looking at it, that we own the property now, I think we're going to have a really good chance of getting approved. So what you're asking from us right now is, I just want to be clear, that you want to go ahead and do a site plan, get a survey, start maybe doing some trail development, and you're using $75,000 that you have right now budgeted in your fund, but you want to move it to just allocate it to these items. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. That would be, so again, we have the 75,000 that we budgeted towards this project. Originally, we were looking at that as a matching component for the inclusive playground. I had everything else kind of factored in there. I've had to shift some of the numbers around for the grant now that we're having to approach it differently. So again, that is my recommendation, is that we move, in order to keep moving forward, to go ahead and get these smaller items, some of like your survey and the wetland delineation, getting that locked down, and recombination of these parcels. I think a lot of the grant stuff, a lot of the trail stuff is stuff that we can probably do in-house. The disc golf course is something that I'm looking at working in-house with, and then we've got a large volunteer group that wants to participate. So I don't want to exclude them, because they're very passionate when it comes to disc golf. And I've been telling them, well, hang tight, but they want to be part of this. And I think that's huge. And when you talk about our cost, it's really labor is what it boils down to, and equipment. We have a lot of the equipment. We just need the labor and the manpower, and we've got volunteers willing to do that. We do have some other volunteer opportunities, one that we're working with this weekend that may potentially be interested in helping us redefine the trails on that land. I do want to have it available for the public to at least access, whether that's in a trail capacity or maybe there's some open space in there that can be created where kids can go in and play, whatever it may be. So we're not, I guess what I'm letting you guys know is I don't want it to just sit here. I want it to, I want us to move forward. I want it to continue to, if it's just one or two items, and then that's better than just sitting there. I do want the public to be able to use this land sooner than later. So that's my goal. As long as the council is okay with that, the RAC has expressed that they would like to see that. So I want to be able to move forward and continue to move forward with the money that was budgeted.
So right now, you're just asking for a consensus. We wouldn't vote on this right now. You're just asking for a consensus. And then you're giving us a heads up that if we receive the grant, then the 21-22 budget year, we could potentially be looking at $460,000 to complete everything if it were to be completed all at one time, but it doesn't have to be completed all at one time.
Yes, ma'am. So what would happen is when we get into the budget talks coming up soon, I would lay out those numbers and the recommendation to move that. Obviously, this is not a case where it's like FEMA. Once the project's completed, the reimbursement is fairly quickly. I would say probably less than 30 days. So as each component is complete, so if we front the money and we get the skate park completed, the day that the skate park is completed, we do a grand opening, the report sent to those grants, and they submit a payment and reimbursement. So it's not a wait 5-6 years down the road for us to get funding. That they do it really quickly. So we would have to make sure that we're good with pulling that. That's David. I know he's on the Zoom meeting, but I'm not going to speak on his behalf. But it's that's something we'll have to discuss during the budget year on where those reimbursement funds would come from. So.
Okay, anybody else? Everybody through with Chad?
Hey, Kyle, I guess I need to make sure, is there anything that we need from the council, since the money is budgeted towards the project, which we're still going to be using, but it's not going to be allocated towards what we're using, what we had initially intended to use it for. So
you have your project budget, and the items directly related to that project will be okay. But if you go, for example, we've been talking about the CAMA access grant. Yep. And if we go after that and use some of that money for that project for a matching, then we would most likely need to do a budget ordinance amendment to move that from the capital project budget over to and create a new one for the kayak launch.
Okay.
So the internal stuff, as long as it's associated with that park, we'll be okay. But again, if you do a kayak launch over at Soundside Park, we would need to look at council approval for moving that money. So, all right.
All righty. We got, let's see, what else? You got what, playing the GIS, right?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Let me try to get back to the information in your packet. All right, so next up is to bring this to council for consideration. As you know, the GIS position is currently a part-time position. It's funded as such within the current fiscal year budget. The position is filled, and the individual is working for the town and doing a good job. However, I think what between departments of community development and utilities, they have seen a void in some needed work to be done, and essentially there's a few things going on. Of course, the inventory and asset map that is currently being worked on, a myriad of other special requests, for example, your zoning map being updated and your town boundary map being updated, and a parking map being created. But as we transition into the AMI program with utilities, that's going to be a very data reliant, data heavy project. And between the two department heads there that have collectively requested this, have provided some justification. And I'll just kind of go through this. To reclassify the part-time to the full-time position, which would include salary and benefits. And I'll go ahead and caveat that they have identified funding within their current budgets to take care of the residual to bring this into a full-time position. The town GIS position has ability and often does provide support to all departments in town on a limited basis. However, the strongest needs currently exist in the data entry associated with the utility department and the preparation for aspects of the beach renourishment project when we talk about parking. Staff is currently researching all existing data as well as current technology to provide a GIS plan moving forward. This overall plan will provide continued support for planning in addition to supporting utilities department. As the town continues to grow, our data management needs continue to increase. Between Waterside and Magnolia Reserve, we'll be adding between 650 and 700 new utility accounts to our system. This number does not include additional commercial and residential accounts created by infill growth. Out of the 3,786 utility accounts currently active in Surf City, 2,864 have been added since 1992. So as we all know, exponential growth is here, and we continue to realize that. No new personnel have been added to process the influx of data since this time. This in turn has created a strain on the personnel currently responsible for maintaining accounts. To decrease the number of certain steps, utilities and planning departments have been discussing the tie between utility data and GIS. Currently, our utility finance specialist sets up and closes out all work orders for the utility department. Based on discussions, the GIS position would close out the work orders, as the information provided will need to be placed into GIS to maintain our asset map as required by current and future state permits. This would also give the GIS position a chance to verify the GIS information in our accounting software to ensure the accuracy. The accuracy of the location information is important as it decreases our locating time and costs on a daily and emergency basis. This information will also be used when planning our capital improvement program. By tracking and mapping our repairs, we can better determine if an area needs a larger repair prior to failure. This position will also assist in any large data dumps, such as the new information being provided by the AMI water meter transition. Majority of the information being placed in MCSJ will also need to be placed in our attributes table in GIS so that we can begin our maintenance log on each meter. So essentially what I ask them to do is look at the job description, make sure it is up to date. There's very minimal requirements. The way that this is presented is that it would be duly funded through the general fund as it currently is, as well as our enterprise fund in which our utility accounts sit. So again, having that dual role and to really assist the town and also the utilities department. Our human resources put together, here's our project task list. As you can see, we talked about a lot of these things. We talked about a lot of these things when we requested the part-time during the budget process. And this list really does grow as we move forward. And then just a comparison of other communities and what this full-time position looks like. Right now, it is set up at a min at $40,622, which is in line with right now the hourly rate on the part-time. The last time this was filled, the position was at 41,874. So you can kind of see what other jurisdictions look like in regards to having a full-time GIS person. And then also the pulled information from the League of Municipalities and what those minimum, maximum, and actual salaries look like amongst all municipalities across the state. So I've asked Price as well as Amy to be on the Zoom call today. Shall you have any questions? If council decides that this is something that you would like to move forward with based on positive recommendation from staff, we would bring this back for a budget amendment to bring that salary into the full-time position for the remainder of the fiscal year. And then, of course, this position, just like every other position, can be evaluated in the budget process. So I'm more than happy to try to answer any questions. Again, this was something I'm trying to work with the department heads on fulfilling their needs for specifically GIS, the AMI project, et cetera.
I just have one question. Are you talking about splitting the cost of this position between the planning and utilities?
Yes, sir, Mr. Fowler.
Okay, thank you. One other question. I know the salary from the last time when it was last filled, but looking at the local government association and looking at the population of Surf City, I think we're pretty much on cue with what the last field position paid. In fact, it's a little bit more than what the League of Municipalities recommends. But I don't have a problem with that as long as it's split between those two, and we can take it up next year's budget. But if we need it and they say we need it for this year, I am in agreement with go ahead and filling that for the remainder of the year.
Okay, thank you. Our minimum salary again, and then what was last filled is pretty darn close and pretty close to what we're paying right now on an hourly rate. She does work 19 hours a week right now, so we really do feel like we can get a lot of things done with the position and really integrate our system, which I think will pay dividends in the end with the accuracy of the AMI and our utility system. I like the justification of documenting work orders, and we can then, similar, I compare to our ocean rescue program. We know where the heat maps are. How can we then blanket an area and address something from a larger scale as opposed to onesie twosie type stuff? So I do trust and have faith in Amy's and Price's capabilities to manage this individual and the workload. It'll still be a direct report to Amy, but I know that her and Price do have a good working relationship to make sure that they don't rip this person in half because they're pulling each arm there. So.
Looks pretty much like a lot of her duties will be overlapping anyway. In other words, when they're doing it for one department, it'll be servicing the other department as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been an advocate for GIS. I think it ties into a lot of things the town does. I think it sometimes gets lumped into just making pretty maps, but there's a lot of information on the back end that becomes very useful on a day-to-day operation standpoint. So, and if we have the money for it, I will recommend it. I do think it's an important role that local governments play in data collection and data management.
Well, that's just like after the hurricane. If we had all this GIS survey done, it would have made our clearing a lot faster and getting utilities back in operation faster as well. So
that's my understanding. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It also, this Councilman Helms, also our fire department uses it, and certainly Price needs it for all the water, and especially seeing we're going online with that new system, he is definitely going to need it.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody, and we'll move forward and bring this for your official consideration at your first meeting in January.
I have a question for you real quick.
Oh, yes, sir.
That's okay. Just want to play devil's advocate for a second. I have no problem with GIS, whatever you all need, it's fine. However, you're paying one hourly right now, pretty much part-time, correct?
That's correct.
So are you advocating that you cannot continue to do that process until the new budget year, or you think it's imperative that we have to put that person, change the process and go with a full-time person now? That's what I'm just wanting to find out. I just want to make sure what you're saying is right.
Absolutely. And if we were not moving forward aggressively with the AMI project, I probably would have asked that same question on the front end, but they do feel like that's going to be critical as we move forward in the next couple of months to do that.
Okay.
All right, anybody else got any more questions? You got anything else for us, Kyle?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to represent here the fire department. As you all know, we discussed in budget process last year, acquisition of fire trucks, and we would like to get moving in this process. We would like to make sure that our deliberation and considerations are documented for vendors to be serious, because the guys over at the fire department and girls, I should say, are working hard to get this spec'd out for the town, and we'll need to move forward. So was going to give you sort of an outline, a time frame as to what we're looking at for this project. Right now they're finishing up their build specifications and manufacturer selections. This is ongoing and will be ongoing for the next 3 to 4 months. The fire truck committee has been busy with fine tuning the specs, but still has some work to complete. They also still need to visit and review other similar apparatus for comparison. There's been some holdup on that with COVID, of course. And once given the approval to move forward by council, there will be still a 3 to 4 month delay to complete that task. Schedule for contract signing would be April 2021, which then really is a culmination of the spec and manufacturer selection. A contract will be drawn to reflect pricing and that specifications. At this point, the contract will go back to council for approval. Once council approves the contract, it will be signed and will be scheduled. The town would need to then be prepared to pay the down payment at that time. Again, we're talking about April, which is estimated to be about $600,000, which was half of that overall cost. The down payment will need to be a cash transfer and can vary in the amount from 20 to 80%. The more the town puts down, the more we will save in the overall cost of the project. Once the specs and the manufacturer has completed the apparatus, we would then move into the equipment purchase. So we got to outfit the vehicle or the fire truck. We're looking at January of 22. The fire department would need to start procuring the required equipment for the apparatus. Cost estimates are approximately $100,000 to $150,000 for that. They would be budgeted in the upcoming fiscal year, either from normal budgeting process or amendment at the time of procurement. I would certainly advocate for the upfront budgeting process to do that. And then a truck delivery of April or June of 2022. Truck construction is estimated to take 12 to 14 months. Once the trucks are complete and final inspection have been conducted, the fire department will take delivery of the apparatus. At that point is when the remaining balance will be due. This can be completed as a cash transfer, or if we feel the need and we got to finance something, we would have time to roll that into some sort of financing package if we are in that position. Finance director and I have been talking about this, and with some of the commitments that we have in town hall, and then the police department, you know, we really wanted to scrutinize this process. The chief has been good to work with on this. We know that he is certainly ready to move forward. We just want to make sure that from our perspective that we're going to be comfortable with it. And I think that we'll be in that position, especially with some of the timing of this and where we're at with the police department sale and funding town hall, et cetera. So a couple of moving pieces, but again, I think the plan that's presented is certainly palatable, and we should be able to move forward on this.
Okay.
Other than that, I took a note. You all have.
Can I interrupt you a minute? Can I
Yeah,
interrupt a minute?
absolutely.
The big thing is we need to get some type of okay from the council to get these vendors in here. If we can get some type of okay from the council, it's going to take like you brought up, April or May before we can really get the contract and everything set up. But he needs, the chief needs, I don't say an order, but something from the council to move forward, to make sure that he has that approval from the council to move forward, and then he can get these vendors in here, and they it'll make things move a whole lot smoother. So he kind of needs that from approval from the council to move forward.
Okay.
We can entertain just a general consensus, and Stephanie can note that in the minutes. And I think that's what the vendors will certainly take grasp of, and you know, start to get serious with it. Thank you, Councilman Helms.
So do you need a consensus now?
Yeah, just a general good to go. Again, I'll give you assurance. We have talked about this, you know, with Dave to make sure that the plan that the Chief Wilson has presented is something that we can undertake, and that confidence is there.
Okay, with a show of hands in front of your face, who consent? Jeremy? Yeah. Where'd Teresa go?
She's here.
Is your hand up, Teresa?
Yeah, we got it. I think we're good.
All righty.
The last thing I had for you this morning was, you know, all the computers have been delivered to you all. They all come with new email addresses for consistency purposes. Starting essentially today, I am going to update my council distribution list to make sure I'm emailing you at your town email. So please make any adjustments that you need to ensure delivery of said emails. But you know, Jason's done a stand-up job again, making sure that the you know, what we deliver to you meets the needs. You have your Outlook that's tied directly to that computer, and then you know, you can link that to your phone or whatnot. So that you can remain consistent in your communication, you know, from that email address, you know, and how you use that is certainly up to you. I'm not going to try to govern what y'all do with it. I just say govern yourself accordingly. So we're set up. Again, just thank Jason. I wanted to thank Jason for his hard work, and certainly Stephanie too, in getting this together and making sure it's going to meet your needs. I'm excited because I can dump files directly into your council agenda folder. So you will see probably a much larger breadth of information that gets to you to support a lot of the items that get put on your agenda. So I'm excited about it. This is something that certainly I've envisioned for our continued success and efficiencies and things of that nature. So that's all I had.
I think so. And I think we need to get Kyle, get Jason a Christmas present here for these. He did a fantastic job, sat right down and went to work. So.
Yeah. Well, if those emails look fishy, they probably are. So don't click on them, you know.
Right. Okay. All right. You got anything else?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor. This is our last formal meeting of the calendar year. So I'm sure I will see everybody over the next week and a half. But Merry Christmas. Thank you for setting that up so we can provide a message to the citizens. And so I just want to say that. And that's all I got.
I appreciate that. And I wish everybody a Merry Christmas also. And I guess we do have some people online, so wish them a Merry Christmas as well. And like I say, I'm sure that we'll see each other between now and Christmas sometime or another. So all be well. Anybody else got anything good for the council?
Hey, Mayor, I've got just an administrative, for clarity purposes, and maybe if not you, the chief of police. I've been asked by residents as far as this curfew is concerned, particular business owner. I talked to Kyle a little bit about it yesterday. The concern is they're allowed to be open, I think, till 10 o'clock. And this is a restaurant owner that asked me this question. And their alcohol sales stop at 9. They're all good with that. The thing is, when they close at 10, then they got about an hour and a half worth of work for prepping and cleaning and things. And his concern is about his employees. Maybe Chief can answer that. How are they managing, people on the road past 10 o'clock? Or am I misreading the curfew?
No, you're reading the curfew correct, Councilman Torres. Certainly, we'll be reactive on that. We understand people have to clean up afterwards. I know my officers will be busy. Certainly, something we're going to be reactive on that. But we're just asking for, obviously, the public's cooperation. We completely understand the businesses have to clean up afterwards and so forth.
Yeah, that's all. People are traveling sometimes after that for legitimate reasons, and I didn't know how we were going to be enforcing that curfew. And I just wanted to be able to give this owner some answer. All he wanted was clarity. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Ron, I guess you could put that out on your website too. That if any restaurant's got a question on it, have them to contact you.
Absolutely, yes, sir. We'll put something out.
I appreciate it. Okay, anybody got anything else? If not, I guess we're done for the day. So.
Do you need a motion to adjourn?
Oh yeah, that's right. We still got to have a motion, even though we're online. Huh? Hey, you made the motion. I guess you did. Have I got a second?
I made the motion.
Yeah. All right. Who's going to second?
I'll do it.
Jeremy, I was looking at you. I figured you would do it.
I'll do it.
Say aye. 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 Okay. We are now.